What's going on YouTube? It's Ben, and today I wanted to talk to you about the steps that you take when you sign a brand new client to your recruiting agency. Now, just to be super clear with you, what I mean by having a brand new client is that you've found the decision maker, you've agreed to terms with them, they've agreed to the terms, you've negotiated any and all fee placements and everything that you need with them, then they've actually signed a DocuSign or a physical document if that's what you've done with them, and you've inked a deal with them, making them an actual client of your agency. One of the first steps that I take with clients is that I set up an action plan. And an action plan is really simple. It basically just means, how do you guys want to proceed? So I'll ask them questions like, do you want me to send you resumes as I find them? Or would you rather me send you 5 resumes every single Friday if we're going to work, a couple weeks to find candidates? An action plan is really important because it keeps you accountable and it sets expectations for the client so that they know exactly when you're going to be producing candidates for them so that both parties can be accountable to each other. The next thing I'm going to do when I start this search is I'm actually going to figure out what mode of sourcing that I'm going to use to actually find these candidates. Now, this is going to depend on a multitude of factors, so there could be urgency involved. Maybe the client needs someone next week and I need to move really fast on this. They could want multiple roles filled, and so I could be searching for, maybe 3 or 4 candidates rather than just one. It could be up to 10. Who knows? There's a lot of different factors involved in how I'm going to source for this, so I definitely need to get into strategic thinking mode and decide what method I'm going to use. So I know we've definitely talked about sourcing methods, and there's 3 in specific that I usually mull over in my head when I decide how I'm going to look for candidates for my brand new client. So the first one is pretty simple and clear, and that is placing advertisements, right? Now, this all depends on what type of candidate I'm looking for. So if it's a software developer or if it's something like that, I'm probably going to be on LinkedIn sourcing using Boolean searches, using all the filters that are on LinkedIn, especially Sales Navigator, which I highly recommend. If it's a low-level role like an administrative position or a warehouse role, something logistics, transportation, I'll probably be on Indeed placing ads or Craigslist placing ads. Or if it's a really specific niche role, I can literally just go on LinkedIn and go to that company's competition and actually sort of poach people directly by emailing them or messaging them or finding their email and emailing those candidates from other companies that would directly be perfect placeable candidates for the new client. Now, before I actually engage in any sourcing efforts, I have to do some secret CIA research, and you should definitely always put this into action. You want to find out what this client is doing as far as their own sourcing. So no matter what they've told me on the phone or through our email exchanges, I always am going to research if they've been placing ads anywhere and where they've been placing them. So I'm checking Indeed.com, I'm looking on Craigslist, I'm checking LinkedIn, I'm looking at their career page, I'm finding out how they are getting the message out there to fill the roles that they're hiring me now to fill so that I don't double up on that. Doubling up and placing ads in the same place that your client is placing ads sometimes can be super wasteful. Actually, most of the time it can be. Generally, you're going to be super redundant by putting ads in the same place unless the ads are like 30 days old or more and you know that they haven't been paying attention to them, they haven't been adding new ads every couple of days, and they haven't been actually intaking candidates through those ads or something like that, or they've told you explicitly that we're no longer searching on Indeed or Craigslist or anything like that, and you can take them at their word or you can't, it's up to you on how you work with your client. But most of the time, if I find that my client is placing ads on Indeed, on Craigslist, or they have LinkedIn ads up, I am definitely going to be changing my search methods and I'm going to be using a whole different format, probably using a sniper approach and approaching candidates specifically on LinkedIn or Indeed Resume Finder or something like that so I can find people that they are not finding. It's just going to end badly if you're being redundant because you're generally going to find the same candidates they're finding and you're probably just going to look bad by doing that as well. Now, once you get the job order in and the job description and you know everything that you need to do and you figured out how you're going to source, I usually get started right away. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, there could be other agencies working for this client. Now, a client is under no obligation to actually tell you if they're working with 1, 2, 3, or 4 other agencies even. Most of the time, agencies that work on contingent can easily pitch their services to the same client, and they could have 3 or 4 agencies working on the same roles, and they could be getting a ton of different candidates but not telling you about it. So I usually want to get to work right away, because most of the time, if they're soliciting my services, they're probably soliciting other services at the same time if they're doing that. And so I want to be the first to start giving them resumes and the first to give them candidates, so that nobody else can own those candidates and get fees for them. The other reason is I just want to look good. I want to provide candidates right away, possibly so that I can get repeat business from them, more roles from them, or referrals or things like that. So there's multiple reasons for why you want to get started right away on a job order. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you look at it like this, it's just a way to get paid faster. So one of the most important things as well is the job description, right? So you need to understand the job description inside and out 100%. If you have any questions whatsoever, I have often had this scenario where I don't understand something, or I have read it wrong, or maybe they've omitted something that I think that they probably needed in there, and I simply email or call the client and ask them about the job description so that I make sure that I'm sourcing properly and correctly for them and not wasting my time sourcing for candidates that they would never hire. It would be a huge waste of your time to basically go out and spend hours sourcing, possibly spending ad spend on Craigslist or Indeed, searching for candidates with requirements written in your job description that are totally bunk, that are not going to fly with the client if you send those resumes in. So super important that you understand the job description going into your sourcing efforts. So you're going to set up phone interviews, you're going to vet them, you're going to qualify them, you're going to ask them specific questions, cross-checked against the job description to make sure that they have everything that they need. You're going to use your super awesome recruiter skills to make sure that you're finding the best candidates to send in to the client. Also, you're going to then take action based on the action plan that you set up, and that could be either sending in resumes for them to then vet and then tell you who they want to interview, or you could have set up an action plan with them where they basically put it in your hands and allow you to simply take your own judgment, read a resume, interview someone, and then set up an in-person interview with the client. Now, the last tip that I would give you for working with a brand new client is that you want to record absolutely everything. So you're going to be sending over a ton of different resumes, working with a ton of different candidates, interviewing them, vetting them, sourcing them, and it's just imperative that you keep super good records on who you sent over, who you've interviewed already, and when they've interviewed, if they got hired, all of that sort of thing, because believe me, over time, things will get really, really confusing when you start talking to 10, 15, maybe even more candidates, and some people get hired, some people are pending, some people are absolute no-goes, and if they call you back, you need to know that. Just keep really, really good records, and at the end of the day, if for anything else, you want to make sure that you know which candidates that you own, which candidates that you've sourced, and so you always want to keep records in your email, text messages, calls, whatever you've done with that candidate to make sure that you can represent them and ultimately bill for them and get paid. And if you love this video, you should definitely smash the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and thank you guys so much. I'll catch you on Saturday. Take care.